Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Toast. And as we draw closer to 2025, those Switch 2 rumors continues to heat up to the point that the floodgates may have just opened up. All kinds of information flooded in today, and this almost kind of begs the question, is this a sign that something a little bit more official is about ready to happen? Well, we'll get into all of that today as we discuss a Switch 2 leak that directly gives us information about its hardware design. Now, we also got some more games for Xbox Game Pass as they just revealed their December lineup, which is actually a pretty exciting way to end the year of 2024. This is a pretty good lineup, all things considered. Let's just go and get right into things, though, starting off with PlayStation and their 30th anniversary. Now, unfortunately, it seems like the rumors of a surprise showcase was simply just that. Nothing but noise. However, Sony revealed a welcome update for Astro Bot. This comes directly from the PlayStation CEO, Herman Hulst, as he said, "I cannot express how happy we are with the reception of Astro Bot." Now, this follows up their sales update from last month, which revealed that Astro Bot sold 1.5 million units for its first 2 months, which is actually a really good start for a 3D platformer like this. Games like this, kind of tend to be slow burners that increasingly sells well over a long period of time. And for at least right now, this puts it on a similar path as Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. It's also gotten off to a better start than what we've seen from other popular games within the same genre like Crash Bandicoot 4 and Sonic Frontiers. Those both ended up selling multiple million units, and Astro Bot has actually gotten off to a little bit of a better start. So between its sales numbers and its early reception, yeah, it seems like Sony is fairly happy by these early results. And I think that's great news for fans that wants more from Sony than just AAA and live service games. I think this is a big win for anybody who wants more variety from Sony. The fans have spoken. Now, we also got some interesting information about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Technically, even though its full release is set for December 9th, it will be out in just a few days on December 6th if you pre-ordered its Premium Early Access Edition. And the reason I'm pointing that out here is because its review embargo will lift one night ahead of its early access. Reviews will start to go up on December 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, which is essentially just hours before its full release. And that seemingly has raised an alarm for some people. I mean, this is a pretty common reaction for the community. Anytime we see a late review embargo like this, there is that idea that it could possibly be a red flag. And I do understand that notion to a degree. For me, though, I think the bigger cause for concern is when developers withhold review codes until after launch. So far, though, we haven't really gotten that same indication for Indiana Jones and the Perfect Circle. And what we do know about Bethesda is that this is typically how they handle their reviews. They do typically have embargoes closer to their release. Either which way, though, we'll see exactly how this game shapes up here in just a couple days. And whether it's good or bad, I'll keep you all up to date as soon as its review starts to roll in. In the meantime, let me hear your predictions in the comments below. What do you think Indiana Jones and the Perfect Circle will score on Metacritic? Oh, and FromSoft gave us some clues about their next project, or actually in this case, multiple projects. Yeah, in an interview, Miyazaki was asked about the future of Elden Ring, and he responded by saying, "At this point, we are not considering developments such as Elden Ring 2. However, this does not mean that we are denying the development of the IP Elden Ring. As for what will we do then, FromSoft is running multiple projects as usual. Among them, there are various variations of projects, so I hope you will look forward to them." So yeah, I know a lot of people just kind of assumed that Elden Ring 2 would be their next game, but according to this response, a sequel isn't even in development, or at least yet. I think they'll definitely get to it eventually, but when you think about it, I think this makes a lot of sense. They just finished up with Shadow of the Erdtree, which was a huge expansion that took several years to develop. And like Miyazaki said, FromSoft likes to work on multiple projects at any given time. This is one reason that they've been able to churn out a lot of different games over the past decade plus. So they have other things up their sleeves. They don't just put all of their eggs into one basket. And one thing that he mentioned, which is I think is definitely interesting in this case, is that these projects are from a wide range of genres. So we could potentially see some games from FromSoft that we're not necessarily used to seeing from them. And I think that part could end up being very exciting. They did a phenomenal job with Armored Core 6. That turned out to be a fantastic game, and it's clear that they have a lot of talent, even outside of the typical Soulsborne genre that they're so well known for. For me, whatever they have in store, I'm all for it. Okay, so let's go and talk about Nintendo and the looming Switch successor. I know some people get a little bit tired, just kind of from hearing about all of these different Switch successor rumors. I know we all just want the official reveal by this point. I'm with you all on that. It's actually one of the reasons that I tried not to pick up every single Switch 2 rumor that hits the internet. I mean, there's a lot of them, and a lot of them are honestly suspect, to say the least. But every once in a while, we get something that's genuinely interesting that could potentially have some legitimacy to it. And today is one of those days. Early images for Switch 2 accessories have started to emerge online. Now, this comes from a Chinese website by the name of Alibaba. They saw a lot of different items, and apparently they have a few listings for the Nintendo Switch 2. You can see this case here, and the first thing that immediately pops out is its logo. Front and center, it says Nintendo Switch 2. And I mean, that kind of seems like a logical name to go with. That's what we all kind of call it anyways. But, this is Nintendo that we're talking about here. Logical names and Nintendo, that doesn't always go hand in hand. Just ask the Wii U or the new Nintendo 3DS. Just terrible names that didn't exactly help consumers. In my opinion, the best name that they could possibly go with for the Switch successor is indeed the Switch 2. Just keep things simple so your consumers automatically knows it is the successor. So I do hope this turns out to be true. More so though, this case reveals the size for the alleged Switch 2. And I think that's one of the more interesting things about the rumored Switch 2 specs. We've continuously heard that it will have an 8-inch display. So I don't think this is necessarily new information per se, but I do think that it does a good job in just kind of putting things into perspective. In fact, a Switch 2 tempered glass screen protector was also spotted on Alibaba, and you can see here just how much larger an 8-inch display is compared to the standard Switch model. And kind of keep in mind here that there are multiple size differences in just this generation alone. The Switch Lite has a 5.5-inch screen. The standard Switch, which I'm assuming is the majority of Switches out there, that's a 6.2-inch screen, and then the OLED model is 7 inches. So, for anybody who's been rocking the original Switch since launch, the Switch 2 is going to be significantly larger. Now, I know some people like the idea of a larger screen while others just simply don't. Not everybody necessarily likes that handhelds keep getting bigger and bigger. The reality is that we are kind of beyond the days of a true pocketable handheld experience. While we call the Switch a handheld, because it's true, but the 3DS and the Vita was the last of their kind. These consoles that you could just get, put them in your pocket, and take them with you. I think those type of consoles, or at least from the mainstream console manufacturers, are a thing of the past. This larger hybrid handheld form factor is kind of the way of the future by this point. But, at the same time, keep in mind, Nintendo did release the Switch Lite this generation. So there is a chance that they could eventually come out with a smaller Switch 2. I think that would actually be the smart thing for them to do, because the more devices they put out there, the more people that they can reach. So I wouldn't rule that out at all. But the fact that all of these accessories are starting to pop up online, this almost kind of begs the question, is an official Switch 2 announcement around the corner? If this leak is legitimate, which I think there is actually a chance in this case, and third-party companies are now getting Switch 2 accessories, that could indicate a soonish Switch 2 release. We've heard a lot of rumors that it could potentially release in early 2025, and this almost kind of leans into that idea. Maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part. I'm definitely crossing my fingers that this will happen, but let me know what you all think about all this. What do you think about the new alleged Switch 2 logo and its form factor? Also, what do you think about its larger screen size and potential soonish release date? Do you believe any of this, or are you just following it under wishful thinking? Now, one last thing before we go, Xbox Game Pass just revealed their next wave of games, which includes Indiana Jones, WRC, Overthrown, Wild Frost, Crash Team Racing, Carry On, Road 96, Forza Motorsport, Haunt 2, and Humanity. Now, I'll leave the infographic on screen, that way you can see which tier and what console gets which game. We are at that point where these announcements aren't necessarily as straightforward as what they used to be, but this is actually a really strong lineup to end 2024 with. I mean, Indiana Jones right away. This clearly is the big day one inclusion. This is a very popular franchise with a big budget behind it. And if it turns out to be a good game, I mean, I hope it does for you Indiana Jones fans out there, then this could potentially be a huge title for Xbox and for Xbox Game Pass this holiday. Now, it will come over to PlayStation next year, so hopefully everybody will root for this game. And it's kind of the Hogwarts Legacy situation. It's a bit of a dream game for Indiana Jones fans. Again, if it turns out to be as good as it looks. Whatever the case, we're not going to have to wait too long because it will be available on December 9th if you don't get its early access. However, there's a few other games worth paying attention to, and that starts off with Crash Team Racing. Now, we talked about this yesterday, so I won't harp on this too much, but this is lauded as one of the best kart racing games ever made, and I'd say for good reason. It managed to carve out its own identity by focusing more on its drift mechanics. I mean, there's a very high skill ceiling when it comes to Crash Team Racing. So if you want to try a competitive kart racer, definitely check out Nitro Fueled. It'll be available tomorrow on December 4th. Now, there's also Humanity, which is a really unique puzzle game. It comes from the same studio that brought us Tetris Effect, and just like that game, it has brilliant music. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Lemmings to a degree. You basically guide humanity to some kind of goal, and in order to do that, you'll have to navigate through different obstacles. This is a game that I actually have. It's a really good game, and I definitely recommend it. It'll be available tomorrow, again, on December 4th. Yeah, it's gonna be a very busy day for Game Pass subscribers, apparently. Now, Overthrown is also a day one release. This isn't really my type of game per se, but it's described as a city builder with up to 6-player co-op. So, that's pretty nice if you have some friends to play with, and it does have some Minecraft vibes to it. So, I thought I'd at least point it out since it's a day one release. It'll be available on December 5th. I think this is definitely a great way to end 2024, though. There's a little bit of everything here. And again, if Indiana Jones turns out to be a good game, crossing my fingers for that, then yeah, fun times ahead. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. But until next time, make sure to hit that subscribe button and peace out.